Ahead, restoring equality, the Education Department telling schools they will lose federal funding if they use race in student-related decisions. The U.S. Department of Education has made it clear to America's public schools federal funding can be denied if race is used as a factor in any educational or administrative decisions. Well, joining us now to discuss this and more is founder and president of Parents Defending Education, Nicole Neily. Happy Friday to you. Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
The Department of Education essentially issued a Dear Colleague letter explaining these non-discrimination requirements under the Constitution and federal civil rights laws. What were the key takeaways of this?
Sure. So what this letter does is it interprets the 2023 Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard decision, which relates to admissions, and says, we interpret this to mean that discrimination of all forms across all spheres beyond just admissions is discrimination and will be treated accordingly. So anything like a racially segregated affinity group, graduation ceremonies, housing, trainings, lots of things that we have seen both K-12 schools as well as universities do, to them is off limits because the underlying theory is that this is relying upon racial stereotyping, and that in and of itself is a negative, is unconstitutional, and will be treated as such.
Nicole, what's interesting is that there was a response from the School Superintendents Association, and that association represents the leaders of public school districts all across the country. Evidently, it sent out a memo to its members to ignore this letter. Tell me more about this.
Yes, so they sent out this letter saying, all right, guys, the process to pull federal funding is very, very long and slow, and so just ignore the law in the meantime, which is appalling. I mean, you think back to when some of these anti-discrimination laws were passed in the 60s, I mean, if you had the state of Alabama saying, just ignore it, it's going to take forever for your funding to be pulled, people would be up in arms. So I think we're starting to see the resistance regroup. And let's remember, it's not just the superintendents. We have also seen higher ed organizations, the American Association of University Professors, American Council on Education. And this to me is very dangerous because, frankly, Donald Trump is not somebody who I would want to play chicken with in this situation.
Well, just this week, your organization, along with the Defense of Freedom Institute, did send a letter to Trump and the White House on strengthening and preserving the original intent of Title IX, which, as I understand it, hope that you can codify that. That's what you're trying to do, guaranteeing equal educational opportunities for women and girls in federally funded schools, colleges, and universities. Specifically, what do you want the president to do with this, and talk about why this is so important?
Yes, I mean, we have seen over the past couple of years a whiplash back and forth between administrations. And as fun as that has been, I think we need a little bit of certainty right now. And so what we have proposed is that they actually move forward on strongly defining what sex is and then taking steps to make sure that we don't have to do this again. It will note that agencies cannot just interpret as they see fit. They have to interpret the law as it was originally written, which is, I mean, how all of our lawmaking should be done, but sadly is not how many agencies have done. And it also then strengthens and bolsters due process and things like that, and gets back to what's called the Davis standard, which means that discrimination and harassment must be so severe, pervasive, and objectively offensive that it interferes with a student's educational opportunities. So it cannot just be a one-off, somebody saying something mean or cruel or, you know, a dirty joke. It actually has to diminish somebody's educational opportunities, which then reins in and is respectful of the First Amendment.
You guys are doing a lot, and it looks like you're in a hotel room right now, so I know you're probably speaking somewhere and in one of these many places that you go. Founder and president of Parents Defending Education, Nicole Neily, we appreciate you joining us this morning here on this Friday. Hope you have a good weekend.
Thanks, you too.